The information circulating across various financial channels right now suggests a moment of unusual significance, prompting a heightened level of attention from observers worldwide. We're looking at a convergence of reports and signals that many in the community feel is demanding a closer, more serious look than routine weekly updates usually require. This shift in the atmosphere from typical speculation to something more apparently substantial is what we're here to examine today. The world of global finance often operates on a foundation of measured, incremental change, but rare occurrences emerge where the low hum of market chatter seems to escalate into a clear, unified signal. It is this specific dynamic that is currently defining the landscape around the IQD and VND. Subtle yet distinct movements are reportedly being detected, from the behavior of large financial institutions to an array of less obvious market indicators, all suggesting a pattern of alignment that points toward a potential major shift. For those who monitor these niche currency markets, the current feeling is that this moment represents more than a typical fluctuation. It hints at a culmination of long-discussed possibilities. This discussion is fundamentally about systemic changes, not just the usual ebb and flow of economic indicators or currency trading volume. What is transpiring is being described by some sources as a development with the potential to significantly alter the financial standing of individuals and nations alike, rewarding the extended patience of those who have been observing these currencies for years. Whether you have been following the Iraqi Dinar and Vietnamese Dong for a long time, or only just beginning to pay attention, the current moment calls for a clear focus on the visible and reported movements taking place across the global financial infrastructure. Reports are surfacing from various sources, channels not historically associated with unsubstantiated rumors that are lending a noticeable weight to the current climate of anticipation. These aren't isolated anecdotes. Rather, they appear to be mutually reinforcing accounts of preparation occurring within respected financial institutions. This suggests that the systems and technical frameworks supporting international banking are potentially being adjusted in anticipation of a significant change. The nature of these preparations is what has captured the attention of seasoned market watchers, transforming mere hopeful conjecture into a topic of more tangible focus. What distinguishes the current situation? Is the reported absence of the usual vagueness or repetition that has often characterized past discussions about these currencies. Instead, reports detail movements that seem backed by concrete readiness and behind-the-scenes preparation, the kind of activity that causes experienced financial observers to pause and take notice. For those who have monitored the shifting timelines and consistent discussions over the years, this phase feels distinct, almost historical, suggesting that a long-anticipated systemic change may finally be approaching a definitive stage. Multiple independent reports are now emerging, and their general coherence is something few market analysts are willing to outright dismiss. For many years, the speculative discussions surrounding the Iraqi Dinar and the Vietnamese Dong have been widespread, animating online forums and becoming a subject of intense debate among both believers and skeptics in financial circles. However, the current news stream carries a different characteristic entirely. The reports emerging are not merely recycled ideas or optimistic projections. Instead, a consistent narrative is reportedly forming among distinct and generally credible information channels, suggesting that a significant update to the valuation of both the dinar and the dong is not a distant possibility, but an event scheduled to take place very soon. The inclusion of a very specific, near-term time frame adds an undeniable sense of urgency to the conversations happening across the financial community today. Reports from multiple geographical regions are displaying an unusual level of consistency, originating from diverse sources that have not often demonstrated such clear alignment in the past. This synchronicity is one of the factors contributing to the current heightened sense of anticipation. Furthermore, the reports are often accompanied by details of concrete actions, which lend them a degree of seriousness that is difficult to ignore. Financial institutions, according to various reports, are not merely exchanging veiled comments about potential changes but are engaged in active, tangible modifications to their operational systems. Trading desks, which typically maintain a skeptical posture toward unverified information, are reportedly preparing for levels of activity that suggest something beyond typical market speculation. Moreover, international financial platforms, which rarely coordinate unless for globally consequential events, are reportedly showing signs of alignment in anticipation of a significant movement. Individuals who have maintained a position in these currencies through periods of delay and uncertainty are now reportedly at a critical juncture, potentially witnessing the realization of long-discussed outcomes. The language being used in the circles reportedly closest to the action has shifted from purely speculative to one suggesting preparation, logistical coordination, and imminent execution. All these signals collectively indicate that the enduring patience of observers is potentially nearing a point of reward, an event that has sometimes been dismissed as merely a topic of online discussion is suddenly being referenced in terms of a planned reality, the immediate future. If the consistent signals prove accurate, may mark the official implementation of a currency update that has been the subject of debate and speculation for over a decade. This focus on the very near term transforms the current day into more than a typical calendar date. It becomes a potential final window for observers to ensure they are fully informed before any reported public figures are disclosed, and the market begins to adjust to a new operational standard. For years, the IQD and VND have occupied a distinct space in investment discussions, inspiring detailed breakdowns and fervent debates. Throughout all the discussions and disagreements, one element has remained constant: the persistent hope for a significant change. That hope that the scattered reports and long-standing discussions would one day cohere into a tangible reality now appears to be closer than ever to crystallization. For those who have been skeptical, the reported alignment of global systems and the visible readiness of institutional structures compel a second look at the unfolding narrative. Conversely, for those who have long anticipated this change, the current atmosphere feels like a potential confirmation of their enduring belief. If the very near-term future delivers what today's reports suggest, this period may be documented not as a time of rumor, but as the moment when anticipation yielded to transformation and long-held beliefs moved into the realm of reality. The latest reports circulating within financial circles suggest that the level of preparatory activity underway among central banks and major global institutions is beyond the scope of anything witnessed in the recent past. This timing is especially critical, as multiple signals point toward global financial systems aligning for potential rate adjustments, possibly starting as soon as the day after today. This detail has shifted the overall mood from quiet speculation to a clear, audible sense of anticipation. What makes this development particularly compelling is not the mere existence of market chatter, which is common. Rather, it is the concrete, visible steps reportedly being taken to ensure technical readiness across various layers of the international banking infrastructure. Core platforms are purportedly being subjected to rigorous testing. Advanced security protocols are being reinforced to handle a potential surge in data and transaction volume. And client service teams are reportedly being placed on alert to manage what is expected to be a substantial increase in inquiries. These actions are seen by many as deliberate, large-scale preparations for an event of demonstrable significance. The scale of these reported systemic adjustments suggests a significant event may be imminent, one that could alter not only the numerical values on paper but also the overall standing of currencies that have long been viewed with skepticism. For years, those who chose to hold the Iraqi Dinar or Vietnamese Dong have endured criticism and dismissal for adhering to what was often deemed an unrealistic aspirations. Yet now, with the visible reporting of global financial machinery shifting into readiness, those same holders may soon find themselves in a dramatically different position, moving from doubted observers to participants in a significant financial reordering. As the atmosphere becomes thick with reports and signals are solidifying into credible accounts, analysts and insiders are reportedly beginning to offer projections that, if accurate, could deliver outcomes beyond what many private investors ever considered. Behind-the-scenes discussions are reportedly generating figures that range from notable to profoundly impactful. Regarding the Iraqi dinar, reports of potential revaluation rates have reportedly clustered within a surprisingly narrow range, with estimates sometimes extending from the lower single digits to as high as $40 per dinar note. This range of figures is reportedly based on ongoing analyses grounded in what sources close to major banking operations claim are reliable data points and rate modeling exercises. Meanwhile, the Vietnamese Dong, which has often been overlooked, is reportedly being mentioned in the context of revaluation figures ranging from fractions of a US dollar to a full US dollar. While professional prudence dictates that such projections must be treated with caution until officially confirmed, the notable consistency across various sources, many reportedly operating within high-level banking structures and intergovernmental networks, lends these discussions an unusual weight, even if the final rates were to settle at the lower end of these reported projections. The implications for holders would still be substantial, with the potential to transform moderate investments into considerably larger financial outcomes. This combination of consistent reporting, institutional preparation, and the sheer magnitude of potential changes fueling the belief that the near future may mark the beginning of a significant financial shift, one that could substantially redefine the outlook for those who have been observing these currencies the longest. Iraq and Vietnam, two nations frequently referenced in discussions about currency updates, have not remained static in recent years. Both countries have reportedly undertaken deliberate, visible measures to solidify the fundamental aspects of their economies, thereby lending credibility to the idea that their currencies could eventually be adjusted to better reflect their actual economic potential. Iraq, despite a history marked by conflict, is widely recognized for its vast oil wealth and has reportedly been bolstering its financial reserves, including the acquisition of significant quantities of gold to strengthen its monetary base with a tangible global asset simultaneously. The Central Bank of Iraq has reportedly implemented substantial reforms aimed at improving financial transparency, modernizing regulatory oversight, and aligning its practices more closely with international financial standards. These actions are viewed by international observers as more than mere symbolic gestures. The country's banking infrastructure has reportedly been upgraded, new compliance systems put in place, and foreign investment incentives have been expanded to attract global capital. Meanwhile, Vietnam has embarked on its own remarkable economic trajectory. Once primarily viewed as a developing economy, it has effectively transformed itself into one of the world's fastest-growing manufacturing hubs. Billions of dollars in foreign direct investment flow into the nation each year, supported by its competitive workforce, robust infrastructure development, and expanding web of international trade agreements, coupled with consistent gross domestic product (GDP) growth rates that surpass those of many regional counterparts. Vietnam has firmly established itself as a significant node in global supply chains. When these concurrent developments are considered together, the concept of a stronger Dinar and Dong begins to move away from mere hopeful speculation. Instead, it starts to appear as a logical consequence, a natural adjustment that would accurately reflect the realities of two nations, systematically building their economic credibility within the global financial community. Beyond the individual national efforts of Iraq and Vietnam, reports are now pointing to a potentially larger, more coordinated phenomenon, possible broad restructuring of the international monetary system itself. Central banks across diverse regions, including the United States, Europe, Asia, and the Middle East, are reportedly engaged in quiet but active preparations that extend far beyond the typical scope of routine financial maintenance. This activity is not seen as the isolated work of individual institutions modifying local operations. Rather, what is reportedly unfolding appears to be a comprehensive alignment of global financial mechanisms designed to potentially reset, rebalance, and redistribute the overall weight and influence of global currencies for decades. A few dominant currencies have largely defined the terms of global trade, credit, and investment, frequently resulting in emerging economies having limited influence and their assets perpetually undervalued. The prospect of revaluing the Iraqi Dinar and Vietnamese Dong may signify more than just an isolated change. It could form part of a wider strategy to introduce greater equity into the system and empower growing nations with currencies that better reflect their increasing economic power. Reports detail quiet but verifiable evidence. System-wide software updates reportedly being implemented across multiple banking networks. Coordination efforts between Treasury departments at both national and international levels, and synchronized policy alignments across institutions that typically operate at their own independent pace. These are not superficial adjustments but deliberate preparations for what is being characterized as a seismic event in the global financial order. If the reports prove accurate, the revaluation of IQD and VND could serve as a foundational moment for a broader restructuring that redefines how nations conduct trade, investment, and balance economic power for decades into the future. If you are currently observing the Iraqi Dinar or the Vietnamese Dong, it is important to understand your position not as a passive spectator, but as a potential participant in a potentially historic financial event. Therefore, preparation is viewed as a necessary step. The initial measure involves a comprehensive review of any physical holdings. Take an accurate count of every note in your possession, ensuring that they are in acceptable physical condition. Many banks and authorized exchange centers maintain strict standards regarding the physical state of currency before processing, and damaged or marked notes can often lead to delays or rejection. In addition to the physical condition, authenticity is paramount. Counterfeit bills are a reality in all markets, and institutions tasked with managing large exchanges will have little tolerance for questionable currency. Verify your notes using reliable methods such as inspecting watermarks, employing UV light verification, or obtaining a professional appraisal if necessary. Furthermore, secure and organize all relevant documentation that establishes your purchase and legal ownership. For larger exchanges, institutions often require original receipts, certificates of authenticity, or detailed transaction records. Having these documents readily accessible provides a significant advantage and reduces unnecessary stress during any potential exchange process. It is also vital to proactively engage with your bank to determine their protocol for participating in any potential exchange. Some institutions may require advance appointments, while others might restrict services to specific branches or set maximum daily limits. By comparing potential exchange rates, associated fees, and internal policies across multiple licensed institutions, you position yourself to make the most informed decisions regarding your holdings. Remember to conduct any exchange only through government-licensed brokers or official exchange centers. In opportunities of this scale, meticulous organization and foresight can be the deciding factor between a smooth, secure transaction and potentially costly administrative missteps that could diminish your returns. Equally essential to preparation is maintaining vigilance. History shows that whenever extraordinary financial opportunities materialize, opportunists and fraudulent actors quickly appear. Should the reported revaluation of the Iraqi Dinar and Vietnamese Dong unfold, it will inevitably generate immense attention from legitimate investors and institutions. Unfortunately, it will also attract bad actors eager to exploit individuals who are unprepared or overly trusting. In the period immediately surrounding such a monumental shift, you should anticipate a surge in fraudulent activities, which could range from phishing emails and deceptive websites to unsolicited phone calls from individuals falsely claiming to represent official banks or government agencies. These fraudulent schemes are often designed to appear convincing, but their sole purpose is to separate you from your money, your personal identification details, or your legitimately acquired holdings. It is crucial to strictly avoid all unofficial dealers or shadowy brokers who claim to offer exclusive insider rates or secret deals unavailable to the general public. Such offers are almost universally traps. And the timeless rule applies: if an offer sounds too good to be true, it almost certainly is. Protect your identity by refusing to share sensitive personal information with unverified sources. Secure your physical currency in a safe, fireproof location until the moment of a verifiable, legitimate exchange. Before taking any irreversible step, seek the guidance of trusted financial professionals who can verify the legitimacy of your intended actions. Only conduct exchanges through officially recognized banks or government-authorized exchange centers where security, transparency, and accountability are guaranteed. The opportunity before you may indeed be historic, but it will only yield positive results for those who balance their excitement with discipline, caution, and a firm refusal to become a target for those seeking to exploit the moment for personal gain. The current situation is not being described by credible sources as a routine currency adjustment or a minor market fluctuation. Instead, it is increasingly being framed as a potential global turning point, one that could carry consequences far beyond the immediate interests of individual investors. A significant adjustment in the value of the Iraqi Dinar and Vietnamese Dong does not simply represent new exchange rates. It would symbolize the renewed financial standing of two national currencies that have long been viewed as undervalued relative to their true economic potential. For Iraq, this would signal a definitive recognition of its substantial resource base and its significant efforts toward modernizing its banking and governance structures. For Vietnam, such a change would mark the culmination of years of relentless economic growth, massive foreign investment, and its successful transformation into a manufacturing powerhouse central to global supply chains. If these currencies rise, the benefits would extend beyond the holders of banknotes to potentially include the entire nations and their citizens, who could gain stronger international purchasing power, enhanced access to global credit, and new opportunities for economic development. Beyond national borders, governments worldwide may be prompted to re-evaluate their trade balances, debt management strategies, and long-standing assumptions about which economies are setting the pace in global finance. Markets could experience shifts, international alliances could deepen, and entire regions may be reshaped by the ripple effects stemming from this significant revaluation. For years to come, analysts may regard this reported event as a catalyst for the advancement of developing economies and a significant stride toward a more balanced and inclusive global economic order. To fully appreciate the sheer scale of the potential changes being discussed, it is helpful to review the numbers currently being circulated by various analysts and insiders. If the Iraqi dinar were to be adjusted at even a modest figure of, for example, a few US dollars per note, a holder of 1 million dinar would immediately find themselves in possession of a multi-million-dollar US equivalent. This represents more than a modest financial gain. It is a potentially transformative windfall capable of altering the trajectory of individual lives, families, and even local communities. Similarly, should the Vietnamese Dong be adjusted to even a fraction of a US dollar, a holder of 10 million Dong could see a substantial increase in their US dollar equivalent. Such outcomes are staggering to contemplate, not only for the investors directly involved, but also for the broader economic landscapes in which they operate. Imagine the significant infusion of wealth and increased liquidity as holders exchange their notes and deploy that new capital into sectors like real estate, new businesses, or other commercial ventures. The cascading effect could touch housing markets, consumer spending patterns, local banking systems, and even government tax revenues. While the exact final rates remain unconfirmed and should be approached with caution, the notable aspect is the growing alignment of various early indicators and projections across diverse, reportedly credible sources. Even if the actual rates were to emerge at the lower boundary of current expectations, the resulting financial outcome would still be extraordinary by any historical measure. Furthermore, the visible ascent of two previously undervalued currencies to a position that better reflects their nation's true economic standing could serve as an inspiration for similar adjustments in other emerging economies, particularly in developing regions worldwide. This could potentially ignite a global trend toward rebalancing, where traditionally undervalued nations gain new financial strength, and the international economic playing field shifts in ways not witnessed for generations. However, it must be remembered that significant opportunities always necessitate an equally high degree of responsibility. And this principle is more critical now than ever before. When emotions are heightened, when rumors abound, and when the perceived stakes feel enormous, that is precisely the moment to slow down and proceed with extreme deliberation. It is natural to feel tempted to rush, to act impulsively, or to allow excitement to push you into decisions that could have enduring long-term financial consequences, but acting in haste can prove incredibly costly. This is why it is essential to double-check and verify everything, not just once, but multiple times. Confirm the credibility of your sources, rigorously question every claim you encounter, and ensure that the information you are basing your actions on is fundamentally sound. Avoid making impulsive or purely emotional decisions, because financial matters, especially at a potentially historic turning point like this, must be guided by rational thought, sustained patience, and a well-considered strategy, rather than succumbing to the fear of missing out. Above all, consult with accredited professionals before undertaking any serious financial or legal step. A trusted and qualified advisor, whether financial, legal, or banking, can offer essential clarity and help prevent you from making avoidable mistakes. Remember that the choices you make in the very near future may not just affect your finances for a week or two. They could potentially influence the direction of your financial stability and prosperity for many years to come. We will be meticulously monitoring developments as they unfold, and you can rely on us to bring you timely updates and information in real time as soon as verifiable, credible information surfaces. This is not the type of situation where waiting for tomorrow's headlines will serve your best interests. The situation is reportedly changing with speed, and the smallest, most granular detail could potentially alter the overall outlook in a major way. That is precisely why we remain committed to tracking every significant movement, every official announcement, and every reported market shift. Our core mission is to keep you as informed as possible so that you can make the most thoughtful and well-reasoned decisions for your circumstances. This moment may well be the one that many have been anticipating, the turning point where long-standing speculation potentially aligns with reality, and where years of careful observation could finally begin to manifest. The very near future, or even the immediate hours ahead, could mark the commencement of a new era not only for Iraq and Vietnam but also for the wider landscape of global finance. If the anticipated changes materialize as reported, the subsequent ripple effects could extend far beyond their national borders, potentially redefining global economic balances, altering fundamental trade dynamics, and shifting how wealth is distributed across various regions. This underscores the critical importance of remaining both vigilant and thoroughly prepared. History is rarely written during comfortable, predictable periods. It is often written during moments of significant uncertainty where bold, informed choices and careful strategies intersect. For some, this potential shift could represent a once-in-a-lifetime financial opportunity. For others, it could serve as a cautionary reminder of the costs of being unprepared. Therefore, it is imperative to stay sharp by ensuring your information is consistently accurate. Stay safe by proactively protecting yourself against misinformation and various scams. And most importantly, get ready both mentally and practically. Whether you are a seasoned observer or someone who is only recently paying close attention, the hours and days ahead demand your focused attention. The story that is reportedly unfolding now could be looked back upon as a defining chapter, not just in the individual financial lives of holders, but in the economic history of nations.